Belville Show is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate to the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate any illegal activity and encourage all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers on the Russ Belville Show are their own, and the Russ Belville Show cannot be held legally responsible for their validity or reliability. Viewer discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think that we need to rethink and decriminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation. Brought to you by the National Cannabis Coalition.
Yeah, I hear you had a question for me.
Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
Oh, yeah. Welcome, everybody. Good day. Woohoo! We made it to the end of our first week. Mostly intact. No major injuries or malfunctions going on here. Welcome to the show. We're so glad to have you here today on this Friday, June 8th, 2012. It's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. We're going to have ourselves a good time. Our own Wiz Khalico is out right now. He's down south, I believe, but joining us here on camera, too, we got Ganja John.
What's up, Russ? How are you doing?
Great. Khalico's where is he at?
He's in San Francisco watching his cousin graduate or something.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Something they do down there.
He's prepping the Bay Area for us, I understand.
Yeah, he's getting it ready for us. But he's hanging out with his conservative family who's not letting him smoke weed. So
what?
Yeah.
Not letting Wiz Khalico smoke weed.
I know, right?
He might be demoted to just Apprentice Khalico.
I might be.
Well, get the Bay Area ready for us, Wiz Khalico. We're on our way down there on June 23rd and 24th. We'll be repping National Cannabis Radio and the National Cannabis Coalition. More on that at the rest of the show, so stick around for more details. Also joining us from our virtual studio, our news director, Cannabis, Carrie. Hi, Carrie.
Hi, guys. We made it to Friday. Happy first week of the show.
Oh, yeah. We're having ourselves a good time. Carrie's our news director for National Cannabis Radio, NCR. We are the
I love the sound of that.
I know. We're the NPR of POT. It's going to be a good thing. And so you'll be hearing all sorts of new liners, new advertisements for National Cannabis Radio. Next week, we are going to beta test the new ad-free setup. But an important note that you folks need to know, if you want to watch the ad-free live stream, you're going to have to go to nationalcannabisradio.com starting on Monday. RadicalRuss.com will still be up, but it will only show the podcasts and the recorded videos. You want to watch it live, you got to go to nationalcannabisradio.com. We'll have redirects as well so that you can find it pretty easily. If you've been bookmarking potnet.us, well, unfortunately, today is the last day of Potnet. There will be no more Potnet.
Short life.
Yeah. Potnet lasted 1 week.
Exactly 1 week. And that's a good thing, folks.
Yeah.
That's a very good thing.
Yeah, because Potnet, the idea of Potnet was I was going to have to do it all by myself and have no sponsor. Now that we got a sponsor, they want it to be National Cannabis Radio. I'm like, hey, I'm cool with that. So NCR, National Cannabis Radio, will be coming. We will bookmark from potnet.us. So if you've already linked to that, it'll just automatically redirect you to nationalcannabisradio.com starting on Monday. Now, Carrie, of course, she's our news director. She's got the headlines waiting for us in the Cannabis Chronicle. What's in the news today?
Well, today we're going to talk about that survey that just came out. You know, every year, Russ, we talk about the survey that comes out about teens' drug use and risk-taking behaviors. We're going to go over those numbers. Also, it's been 1 year since the Republican legislature put that devastating law into place in Montana. We're going to talk about how that has affected their program. And huge news about a subject near and dear to my heart, hemp. So that all coming up in today's Cannabis Chronicles.
All right. We'll take a look at that. Be good stuff right after our first break. And And then at the 20 after mark, we take a 20 after break like we should here at the Russ Belville Show. And when we come back, we do Rockin' Friday every Friday with Herb Thrasher. He's the host of Herb Thrasher Flower Hour that will be tonight live from 8 to 10 Pacific with all sorts of metal, rock, and alt country music and videos. He'll stop in with our Rockin' Friday tune. After that, I got a little bit of a time for a radical rant. I'm going to tell you about a new study about medical marijuana dispensaries and crime. And then we'll wrap things up by visiting with High Times Senior Cultivation Editor Danko. He's going to be joining us to take your live cultivation questions at the bottom of the hour. He's also reporting live from the New York Media Softball League, so we'll get breaking sports news as well. All that's coming up on the Russ Belville Show in our first hour. Stick around for hour 2. Toker Talk Radio will take your calls at 971-533-7111. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for a great first week. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show. We'll be right back. Stick around.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation. Support the Russ Belville Show. Text the word Russ to 420-420 and connect with the National Cannabis Coalition. You can also send $10 to the Russ Belville Show right from your smartphone. That's Russ to 420-420. You're listening to Radical Russ on the Russ Belville Show.
Fishbone pulled up here. We pulled up today in the van, and I walked out of the building, walked through the big building over, and I walked outside. And I'm walking over by the lake, and I just see everybody casually smoking weed like it's all right. Like it's supposed to be like that.
Because it is all right.
Like you ain't got to worry about no police coming and asking you what you smoking or what are you doing here or let me see your driver's license. See, that's how they do it in Amsterdam. Everybody just out there chilling. Ain't nobody stressing. You go buy your weed at the shop. You go kick it, smoke your weed, walk the street, do whatever you want to, and you don't even...
Marijuana's not going to re-legalize itself. You've got to do your part. Join the National Cannabis Coalition today at nationalcannabiscoalition.com. Medical marijuana, industrial hemp, ganja sacrament, consumer cannabis. The topic of marijuana is heating up the news, and the Russ Belville Show catches you up with today's latest headlines. Now, here's our senior news editor, Cannabis Carey, with the Daily Cannabis Chronicle.
The Montana medical marijuana program has been decimated by last summer's Republican legislature. As of May 31st, the number of registered medical marijuana card holders in the state has fallen to 8,734. Now, that's an 18% drop since April and a whopping 72% drop from a year ago when the May 31st cardholder count was at 31,522. Providers that are formally called caregivers have had their numbers decline from 4,838 last year to only 400. Since there are less patients asking for recommendations, it's only logical that the number of doctors doing so has also dropped. Last year, there were 365 doctors recommending medical marijuana to at least one of their patients. That number has now dropped to 235. It was just 1 year ago that Montana medical marijuana law was in jeopardy of being repealed altogether. Montana voters passed a citizen initiative medical marijuana law in 2004, and a contentious debate in the 2011 legislature led to the Montana Speaker of the House, Republican Mike Milburn, to author legislation to repeal the law. That bill was vetoed by Governor Brian Schweitzer. After Milburn's bill was vetoed by the governor, the legislature approved a second bill that did not outright appeal the Montana medical marijuana law, but was aimed at slashing the number of medical marijuana users and largely eliminating the business side of Montana's medical marijuana industry. The governor did nothing to stop that harsh regulation bill, and he let it pass into law without his signature. Parts of the law the legislature passed have been blocked by a judge, and this new law is facing both a court challenge and a voter referendum come November.
Well, we are going to report on that referendum. We hope to have John Masterson from Montana Normal during our election coverage here coming in November because, boy, the people of Montana, if you want to get your medical marijuana back, you're really going to have to step up on this. Unfortunately, the polling that I've seen has not been very promising. So far, it looks as though the support for the referendum is in the 40s at this point, which would mean, that the law that they have now would stay. The referendum is, should we get rid of this new repeal light? And they need to get their support up if that is going to happen. This is just an unfortunate turn of events to reduce the patient rolls from some above 30,000 to around 8,000. It's not as if those people got well. It's not as if they're glaucoma or cancer or AIDS or chronic pain or spasticity or MS or any of that. It's not as if that went away. Those people are still in need of cannabis for medical purposes, and they're still probably getting it. They're still probably getting the cannabis they were getting before. It's just now the state of Montana has no control over it. They used to have it where caregivers were right there in the open. They had a place where you could find out where they were. You could see how they're operating. But now it's been driven all back underground, driven back to the parking lots, driven back to the guy's house, being back to the parks and the back alleys. This is no way to treat sick people. This is no way to treat patients. But what we've seen from legislators from Montana and Oregon and all around the country is this notion that if there's too many patients, if there's storefronts where patients can get their medicine, if they're actually able to make use of this medical marijuana program, well, my God, that's abuse. That's just a terrible, terrible abuse. Obviously, there can't be that many people that need medical marijuana. We got to do something about it. In Montana, they tried to repeal it, ended up with this repeal light. In Oregon, they boosted the fees from $100 a year to $200. Montana's have gone up from 25 to 75. They're going up in Nevada, all in an effort, a coordinated, concerted effort by these state governments, by these officials to reduce the rolls, to have less people served by a medical marijuana program voted in by the people. And I think when the people voted in medical marijuana, they were thinking that people ought to be able to use it. Like in our law, it says marijuana should be treated like other medicines. It's not. But I think the people, when they voted this in, they really did want people that were sick and dying and suffering and in pain. They really wanted them to be able to get their cannabis. Why do these lawmakers, why do these legislators think they know better than the people? Why are they constantly trying to thwart the medical marijuana industry and the medical marijuana efforts throughout the United States? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because those of us in medical marijuana just don't donate as much money to political campaigns as the people in big pharma and the prison guards unions.
A government survey was published this week that shows that American teenagers are now smoking marijuana more than they are smoking cigarettes. A report that came out on Thursday from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention says that 23% of high school students admitted that they have recently smoked marijuana. 18% of high school students said that they had smoked a cigarette recently. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have been tracking teen risk behaviors and smoking rates for a few decades now. The Youth Risk Behavior Surveillance System is a survey that monitors 6 different types of health risky behaviors that contribute to the top causes of death or disability among teens. They track sexual behaviors, diet, exercise, injuries, and alcohol, tobacco, and drug use. Tobacco use has been steadily declining, but marijuana use in teenagers has been fluctuating over the last 10 years. Teen marijuana usage has dropped from 2007 to 2009, but then it rose again from 2009 until 2011. The statistics for 2011 is the first time that marijuana usage has outpaced tobacco usage in teens, according to the survey. Similar studies have also shown a trend uptick in teen marijuana use, and experts say that teens today see less risk involved with smoking marijuana to smoking cigarettes. Just for comparison, teen use of inhalants, heroin, methamphetamines, and cocaine have had no significant changes since 1999. Just having tried marijuana at least once has gone from 31.3% in 1991 to an all-time high of 47.2% in 1999, and then it rose from 36.8% in 2007 to 39.9% last year. Teens that admitted to using marijuana one or more times in the last 30 days before taking the survey went from 14.7% in 91 to an all-time high of 26.7% in 99, and then rose from 21% in 2009 to 23% last year. Smoking tobacco at least one day out of the last 30 days for teens has been steadily trending downward from an all-time high of 36.4% in 1997 to only 18% in 2011.
Well, I wish that every teen in America could make it to age 18 without ever having drank alcohol, smoked a cigarette, smoked marijuana, tried a drug, had risky sex. There's all sorts of things that I wish kids that we could magically get them to 18 without ever having tried. But you know what? That's just not reality. The reality is kids are going to try sex. They're going to try drugs. They're going to try alcohol. They're going to try cigarettes. So the smart thing to do would be to try to find a way to reduce how many of them are doing these things. And for the ones that will do it, reduce the harms that they might experience from them through education, prevention, and dealing with them as, dealing with the situation rather than lecturing on just say no or something that's been proven not to work. If there are fewer young people engaged in cigarette smoking, I can't see that that's not a huge victory in drug policy. And then as far as the rest of the drugs, Carrie mentioned, meth, ecstasy, and so forth, they've been holding rather steadily. And with cannabis, it fluctuates up and down. Well, as far as the rates of cannabis changing among the youth, I'm not very surprised by that. They say that kids have less perception of risk of pot smoking these days. Well, of course they do. We used to tell them back in the 80s when I was going to school that the president said I have direct evidence that smoking even one marijuana cigarette is equal in brain damage to standing on Bikini Island during an A-bomb blast. That's when they used to call them A-bombs. So we went from it's as bad as a nuclear weapon and a frying egg in a pan to medical marijuana and understanding that it's an herb that's non-toxic and the safest therapeutically active substance known to man. So yeah. No surprise, kids, when you tell them the truth about it, find less risk in it. So I think we're just going to have to accept that there may be a slight uptick in teen use when they realize they've been lied to and now are reacting to that. But let's learn the lesson from cigarettes. What have we done with cigarettes to get this down? And remember, cigarettes, we're talking about a drug you can get when you're 18 years old. The most addictive, the most deadly drug. And you can get it when you're 18 years old. What have we done to reduce the rates for that for kids? We've increased the tax on a pack of smokes. We've done severe carding and ID restrictions and make sure that the smokes are behind a locked counter at the store where you have to go through a clerk who's going to check you for ID. We've done massive public education on the dangers of tobacco smoking and the science behind it. All of these things have caused kids to make smarter decisions. You want kids to make smarter decisions on cannabis? Tell them the truth about it.
Senator Ron Wyden from Oregon submitted a last-minute addition to the Agricultural Reform, Food and Jobs Act of 2012 that would legalize the production of industrial hemp. Wyden read from a prepared text saying, industrial hemp is used in many healthy and sustainable consumer products. However, the federal prohibition on growing industrial hemp has forced companies to needlessly import raw materials from other countries. My amendment to the Farm Bill will change federal policy to allow U.S. farmers to produce hemp for these safe and legitimate products right here. Now, hemp has long been prohibited because of its relationship to marijuana. It's technically a Schedule I substance. Keeping hemp illegal in 2012 seems outdated, with most Americans understanding that marijuana can get you high, industrial hemp cannot. Economists and business researchers have been saying for years that hemp has the potential to be worth millions, if not billions, if allowed to be farmed in America. An advisory for the hemp advocacy group Vote Hemp said that the time is due for the Senate, as well as the President and the Attorney General, to prioritize the crop's benefits to farmers and take action. Eric Strensta, from the president of Vote Hemp, says this is the first time since the 1950s that language supporting hemp has come to the floor of the House or Senate for a vote. Now, the Agricultural Reform, Food and Jobs Act of 2012 will definitely get a vote, but it's not clear if it has a shot. Conservative groups have taken action contacting senators to vote against the bill, which is receiving much attention this week because many of the amendments that were added this week were unrelated to agriculture agricultural sectors. Senator Debbie Stabenow from Michigan has called on other senators to stop adding unrelated amendments in an attempt to save the bill. Bills seeking to legalize industrial hemp for farmers have passed in Maine, Montana, North Dakota, Oregon, Vermont, and West Virginia. What you can do is contact your senator and urge them to vote to pass the Agricultural Reform, Food and Jobs Act of 2012. Its passage would mean a national law legalizing hemp. Now, we'd still need to clear up the conflict with the DEA's interest in hemp, but this is a first very, very big step.
Yeah, banning hemp because it's related to marijuana is kind of like banning near beer because it's related to beer, right? The amount of alcohol content in a near beer is actually a greater degree of intoxicant in the substance than the amount of THC that you'll find in a hemp plant. So it's ridiculous on its face that we even ban industrial hemp in this country. Every other industrialized country in the world that still has illegal cannabis has legal hemp. Apparently, the cops in all these other countries are smart enough to tell the difference between a 20-foot tall, reedy hemp plant and a 10-foot wide, bushy marijuana plant. Maybe Senator Wyden's bill will get our cops to be a little bit smarter in this country.
It's 420 back in Idaho, where Russ and Carrie were born. So we have to go connect with our Russ. You know what I mean? Please support these sponsors who support the Russ Belville Show.
Hey, if you're in Portland this weekend, give a call out to Citizens for Sensible Law Enforcement at endprohibitionagain.com. They're looking for volunteer signature gatherers for legalization at the Rose Festival and the Rose Festival Parade. Again, that's endprohibitionagain.com if you want to volunteer this weekend in Portland.
I'm Sub Cool from Team Green Avenger. At TGAgenetics.com, we are working on the leading edge of medical strains. Our strains are rigorously tested for THC, CBD, THCV, and other critical cannabinoids. Know your grow. Check out our genetic diversity at TGAgenetics.com, the home of Jelly Bean, Jack the Ripper, Vortex, and other award-winning cannabis strains.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back after a word from these 420 friendly sponsors. Wait a minute. This is internet radio. There are no dials here. Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Rockin' Friday, featuring rock, metal, and the hard edge of alternative country. You can get downloads and more information about all our Daily Toker Tunes by visiting music.radicalruss.com. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tune.
All right, welcome back, folks. Trying to get Herb Thrasher on the line here. We've been having some problems here in the studio as far as the Skype connection with him and the tune that I was going to bring up for him today, having Dropbox issues. We got everything rearranged here from our move from Potnet and our former employer, but still a few loose details to clean up. So unfortunately, I don't have Herb on the line for us, but he will be joining us for the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour tonight at 8 o'clock Pacific, running from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. 2 hours of the best metal, rock, and alt country, both music and videos. And now that we've got our ASCAP BMI CSAC licensing, he's going to be bringing you all sorts of tunes from mainstream artists. You're going to hear some great stuff. I know he was looking up some Judas Priest the other night, so we'll probably have some of that on tonight's show as well. So I'm going to take care of the Rockin' Friday tune for now. I'm going to bring something up from that, just as I mentioned, the alt country. A lot of people get a little confused with Herb Thrasher. They think, wow, it's all metal and this hardcore stuff. But he also really digs this hard alternative country stuff. You know, he's originally from Alabama, and send out some congratulations to the Alabama softball team that won the national championship recently. I know he'd be talking that up tonight. But anyway, he's from Alabama, so he knows a lot of this country stuff and what he calls hellbilly music. So I'm going to bring you this track from a group called Dixie Witch. And of course, you all know of the band Lynyrd Skynyrd. This is their cover of Lynyrd Skynyrd's On the Hunt. Yeah, music from Dixie Witch. Some great southern rock there. On the Hunt, Leonard Skinner cover. Check out this and other great alt-country hellbilly metal rock tunes on Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. That's tonight, 8 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock. Well, it goes from 8 to 10. That would be, whatever it is, 11 to 1 Eastern Time. I expect you all to be here. We're going to have ourselves a rockin' good time. Stick around. We got a Radical Rant coming up next on the Russ Belville Show.
Have you ever wondered how to make the best tasting and most potent pot brownies possible? Do you consistently seek out recipes that will elevate your marijuana-infused cuisine to the highest levels imaginable? Then it's time to pick up a copy of the official High Times Cannabis Cookbook, published by the world's most trusted name when it comes to getting stoned. Packed tight with more than 50 recipes for irie appetizers, munchy meals, high holidays, stoner sweets, and cannabis cocktails, along with expert advice that demystifies the experience of infusing marijuana into butter, alcohol, and various oils. This book will get you cooking with grass in no time, with special treats inspired by Willie Nelson, Snoop Dogg, and Cheech and Chong, plus all the info you need to stay safe when making and consuming edibles. You will truly learn how to bake a ganja cake and eat it too. So look for the official High Times Cannabis Cookbook wherever finer books.
Attention, potnet.us listeners. If you haven't heard the political pontifications of Lively and Mr. Libra on the Libra Lounge yet, be sure to visit here Wednesday nights at 6 Pacific. Or visit thelibralounge.com for archives and links to download current episodes. Be a lounger.
The Libra Lounge.
You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I got a note from my colleague, Paul Armentano. I'm still going to call him my colleague because we're both working for the end of Prohibition, and we both spend way too much time in front of a computer researching it. So Paul Armentano sent me an email from Normal, and he got this report out of a U.S. News and World report, and also he had seen the original study on this, so I just wanted to bring it up for everyone. And it's a topic that's been brought up by law enforcement many times with respect to the states that have medical marijuana dispensaries. And it's always, oh my God, the crime from these dispensaries. We just recently had the Berkeley Patients Group shut down, and the U.S. attorney talking about that, saying, oh, well, you know, dispensaries, it's near a school, and dispensaries have money, and they could be robbed, and they could be, you know, there could be all this violence that would be going on. And of course, nobody bought that. Everybody knows that dispensaries are the safest way to distribute cannabis to patients that need it. But regardless, this is something that law enforcement's been bringing up time and again. Oh my God, the danger, the danger, the danger. Now, there have been a few studies, kind of informal surveys, if you will, done by local police departments on this issue. The I believe it was the LA County Sheriff once took a look at the dispensaries around Los Angeles, and compared their crime stats to, you know, Starbucks and banks and liquor stores and so forth, and came to the conclusion that there really wasn't any more crime reported around dispensaries than any other locations, any other types of businesses. Similarly, in Colorado, they took a look. I can't remember which city it was, whether it was Colorado Springs or where Fort Collins. I don't recall, but there was another place where in Colorado they took a look at the crime stats in the neighborhoods and found, what do you know, dispensaries didn't cause crime. But this story coming out of usnews.com, this nails the coffin lid shut on this fear-mongering by law enforcement about the danger of dispensaries. Headline from U.S. News, report, medical marijuana dispensaries not linked to neighborhood crime. Study of California dispensaries finds no increased crime levels. It's long been an argument of law enforcement and anti-medical marijuana advocates that the government-sanctioned pot dispensaries cause an uptick in crime, especially burglary and muggings. The only problem is that argument isn't necessarily true, according to a new study funded by the National Institutes of Health. On its face, the argument makes sense. Medical marijuana dispensaries feature large caches of high-quality drugs, and its customers overwhelmingly walk in with a huge wad of cash and walk out with a desirable product. But the study, published in the Journal of Studies on Alcohol and Drugs, found that neighborhoods with medical marijuana dispensaries in Sacramento were no more likely to have crime than other neighborhoods. The study's authors say their research may debunk a 2009 report by the California Police Chiefs Association that said marijuana dispensaries, quote, have been tied to organized criminal gangs, foster large marijuana growth operations, and are often multi-million-dollar profit centers. Because there are repositories of valuable marijuana crops and large amounts of cash, several operators of dispensaries have been attacked and murdered by armed robbers, both at their storefronts and homes. And such places have been regularly burglarized, the report continues from the California Police Chiefs Association. Drug dealing, sales to minors, loitering, heavy vehicle and foot traffic in retail areas, increased noise, and robberies of customers just outside dispensaries are also common ancillary byproducts of their operations, end quote. Well, first of all, consider the source. I'm talking about the California Police Chiefs Association, and these police chiefs often are funding their departments on the grants they get for the number of potheads they bust. If you missed yesterday's show, we spoke with Titus Peterson from Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. He was a felony prosecutor in Denver, and he told us of how much his department depended on those grants. They're called burn grants, B-Y-R-N-E, burn grants, like the comic book artist, John Byrne. I don't think they're named after him. He would never have anything to do with that. But anyway, these burn grants that they get, the federal government actually gives our police departments and our district attorney, gives our law enforcement grants to go after potheads, to go after cannabis consumers and users of other drugs. Now, the federal government doesn't give any grants to go after murderers or rapists or arsonists or child molesters or any number of undesirables in our society that you would want to have the cops getting money for. Yeah, if we got a way to get more money to cops to stop rape, I'm for it. What do we got to do? But no, our federal government only pays our cops to go after users of drugs. And this is all tied to quotas. They have to make so many arrests to be able to get that money. So when a state goes and legalizes the medicinal use of cannabis, that makes their job, or should I say, that makes their fundraising a whole lot more difficult now, doesn't it? I mean, some of the things that these California Police Chiefs Associations say in this 2009 report, they've been tied to organized criminal gangs. Well, when you define the growing of marijuana, the trafficking of marijuana, and the selling of marijuana as a crime, and when it requires groups of people to achieve each one of those objectives, then by definition, it's a large criminal gang. It's an organized criminal gang. Now, the question is, when you say organized criminal gang, are we talking The Sopranos? Are we talking, Tony Montana? Or is organized criminal gang, with quote marks, really just a bunch of pot growers, the kids they pay to trim, the people, the bud tenders working in the dispensary, the guy that owns the dispensary? I mean, it's not the kind of criminal gang I think anyone's really terrified of out there. The other thing they say, they foster large marijuana growth operations. Oh no. You mean the dispensaries that are distributing marijuana to patients are growing it in large amounts so they can get it to the patients? Gosh, what a scandal. I don't understand. They define it as a scandal just because it is, right? Because to them, there should be no marijuana growing. I guess the patients are supposed to get their medicine from the weed fairy. And they're often multi-million-dollar profit centers. Well, depends on how you look at this. Yes, I do believe the people that are running dispensaries do pay themselves salaries. I believe that they take the money that they make and they pay other people's salaries. And in a lot of cities and states, they're paying taxes. And I know that they're putting a lot of their money into their business to continue to have it grow. But I don't see any Donald Trumps running around out there. I don't see any Bernie Madoffs in medical marijuana, right? I don't see any of these Jamie Dimons like the CEO of Chase Manhattan Bank, who just lost $2 billion on a single trade, $2 billion of people's money. Now, I don't see that going on in medical marijuana. I see people that are providing a service, that are compassionately providing medicine to patients that need it, and maybe, you know, some recreational users that have arrest anxiety syndrome. So what? And then, of course, all this stuff they say about the robberies and the attacks and the armed robbers. Well, that exists for any industry. That exists for banks. That exists for pharmacies. That exists for bars. You know, there's always going to be criminals out there that will try to rob people. And if the idea here is let's get rid of everything they might rob so we can all be safe, well, then we're not going to have any stores of any kind anymore. Okay, so I don't see that medical marijuana dispensaries need to be treated any differently than we would treat any other outlets there that we have found ways to coexist with. Now, the UCLA study that they're talking about in this U.S. News report looked at crime rates in 95 areas of Sacramento in 2009 before the city enacted regulations on where dispensaries could be located, and when they had fewer restrictions on what security measures dispensary operators had to meet. This is from Nancy Keppel. She is the doctoral student at UCLA that helped study this, said, whatever security measures were done, the owners chose to do it for themselves in 2009. We specifically selected this time because it was based on a free market situation, end quote. Although the researchers aren't sure why there was no uptick in crime around dispensaries, they suspect that security guards and cameras have an impact on keeping criminals out. Really? Then you have guards paying attention to stuff and cameras recording things, and criminals tend to disappear. Wow. Gee, any first-year criminal justice students, I think, can tell you that. And again, that's just more indication as to why we need to bring the marijuana trade out of the shadows. We need to bring the marijuana trade into these dispensaries, into these storefronts. I tell you, we've got them here in Portland, Oregon as well. And, you know, they're using all sorts of euphemisms to get around the fact that we voted it down twice. But every time I go into one, I'm stopped at a door that's locked. A person verifies my ID and my medical marijuana card and make sure that they're both accurate and not expired. And this is me. This is Radical Russ. This is a guy who's been an activist in Portland, Oregon since 2005, been on the TV numerous times, and, you know, toot my own horn here, kind of treated like a pot celebrity. And they're still checking my ID. They're still checking to make sure that everything's on the up and up. And then once I go inside that building, I have to go around a corner because the medicine is not out in open display in the front lobby. You got to go around the corner. So there's no possibility anybody out on the street, and nevertheless, there's window there. There's a window there with a shade that's always drawn. But even if it were up, they'd never be able to see any of the medicine because our law says you have to keep it out of public view. Yeah, got to keep the medicine out of public view because God forbid anyone sees a pot plant or someone smoking weed. The world would come to an end. But every time I go to one of these dispensaries and I go around that corner and I see the glass display where they've got the big glass jars of many different varieties of cannabis, sativas, indicas, hybrids. When I see the whiteboard that's got the color coded for the sativa, indica, and hybrid with the different strains that are listed there. And when I actually ask for some of the medicine and they're, you know, I say I want 10 grams, they'll pull out a digital scale and drop the buds on the scale right there in front of you. So you know, no bag or nothing, right? Terry weight taken care of and everything. So you know what you're getting, and they always give you a 0.3 or 0.4 gram more than what you asked for because of stems and so on. And every time I'm in this place, I keep thinking to myself, wow, this is a federal crime. Everything that's going on here could get us serious prison time. We could be behind bars for decades. Wow. What a terrible, terrible crime.
It's a plant.
Yeah, and it just blows my mind that this is what everybody is up in arms about. And really, folks, I think that's part of the reason why they're up in arms about it is because there isn't any freak out or danger. That it is regulated and controlled and safe and reliable. Because then it puts lie to their claims that if we legalize marijuana, the sky would fall and chaos would reign. Pot zombies would roam the streets seeking strains. No, you legalize marijuana, you get a pretty boring little storefront where people go in, get weed, and leave. Don't have to sit around and listen to your dealer's shitty mixtape. Don't have to take what you can get because that's what he's got, and what are you going to do?
You don't have to stick around at his house because he's scared that if you just get there and leave, that all his neighbors are going to notice.
Yeah, I can't. The traffic issue.
Yeah.
You don't have the situation where, my guy's got to find his guy. It'll just be 10 minutes.
You don't have to wait in some jerks
for 4 hours
room.
later.
Yeah,
and to think that that's the crime that they're so worried about. So it's just, I'm so happy to see this study coming out, once again showing the real reason they need to keep marijuana prohibited, the real reason they need to fight against medical marijuana, and it is this. Medical marijuana cracks the wall of ignorance. It provides concrete example of people using cannabis regularly, people growing it openly, and people selling it, and no major disasters happen. The world doesn't come to an end. The sky does not fall. And it makes it so that when they're trying to uphold the prohibition for us healthy people, it makes it a lot harder for them to justify. When we can look at the sick folks who we know are toking a lot all the time, and everything's fine. And just like the study says, no increase in crime. We're going to be back with Danny Danko from High Times. He's out at the New York Metro Softball League, Media Softball League. Stick around. We're right back after this.
It's simply business. It's simply business. It's simply business. You know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation. Brought to you by the National Cannabis Coalition.
It's simply business. It's simply business. It's simply business. You know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business. It's simply business. You know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business.
Starfish Designs, makers of the original Gandalf.
I'm RadicalRuss, and when I want to relax, I always have my 17-inch long original Gandalf from Starfish Designs nearby. The hand-blown borosilicate glass is strong and easy to clean, and the design is sleek and sophisticated. Starfish Designs are available from Bend, Oregon at a glass retailer near you. For locations, call 541-788-GLASS. That's 541-788-4527.
Hey, this is Willie Nelson for Normal. I smoke pot and I like it a lot. I learned a long time ago that marijuana is a lot safer than alcohol. There's nothing wrong with the responsible use of marijuana by adults. It's time we stopped arresting and started respecting those who smoke marijuana responsibly. To learn what you can do to help, contact NORML at NORML.org or call toll-free 888-67-NORMAL.
The Russ Belville Show reminds you to never smoke and drive impaired. Hang out for a while and share.
Cause the day was hard and your work was long and you need a break from all that's wrong. You better look at the clock cause it's 4:19. Time to reach in that pocket for your bag of green and smoke that weed.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show. Mary, Mary, quite contrary.
Free weed.
How does her garden grow?
Free weed.
I don't know.
Danko on the normal radio. Free weed.
I'm just the voiceover guy.
Free weed.
Ask High Times Senior Cultivation Editor Danny Danko in the Russ Belville Show, Cultivators Corner.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are going out live to, I don't know what park in New York, but Danny Danko's on the line. How you doing, Danny?
Great. Yeah, I'm in Central Park. We're playing softball right now, the High Times Bomb Hitters versus the Daily Beast Newsweek News Beast.
The News Beasts. All right, and so...
I don't know if that's what they call themselves, but that's what we call them.
That's what we're calling them today. Bong Hitters versus the News Beasts. And we've reported on the New York Media Softball League before, and High Times has always, finished it, sometimes won the league, finished second a lot of times. How is the game going today?
Oh, it's great. We are up. We're up 13-2, soon to be maybe 14-2. And, the game's pretty much in the bag right now.
Right on. Who are some of the people from High Times we'd know that are playing today?
Well, Mike Sapphire, Craig Coffey is a regular on the team. Let's see.
Yourself? Are you playing or just
myself,
watching?
Yeah, I'm actually, I took myself out of the game. I was playing second base. And I had a couple of nice hits, and calling it a day. My wife's coming out with my son, so that's a nice day out in the park, and a great softball game as well.
Oh, how's your son doing?
Oh, awesome. Yeah, just had his second birthday, and, he's loving everything and learning new stuff all the time.
All right. Well, we had a great episode of High Times Free Weed from Danny Danko. Danny, you did it live for the first time. How'd you feel doing it?
Yeah, no, it was fun. We're going to keep doing weekly shows. I don't know how many will be live, but we're going to keep putting those shows out. I'm really happy. We just switched over to SoundCloud as well, so you can listen to them without, having to download anything. And, we get good stats and stuff from there. So it's been fun.
Oh, that's really cool. I'll have to take a look at that SoundCloud. That's something I hadn't thought of, putting ourselves up there. Now, Danny, we've been reporting on a few different stories. And by the way, since we've got you here live, I want to let the folks know that you can call in to 971-533-7111 if you've got a cultivation question for Danny Danko from High Times Magazine. But before we get to the cultivation, I always like to give you a chance to spout off on politics. And, I've been reporting on this story, LZ Granderson on CNN, one of these contributors got up and they were asking about Colorado. And since, Romney was kind of bad on medical marijuana and Obama's been bad on medical marijuana, they were asking whether or not medical marijuana or marijuana legalization would affect the Colorado presidential race. And Granderson said, basically, if you're basing your presidential decision on whether or not he's going to let you roll a blunt, you're an idiot. So I wanted to give you a chance, as far as standing up for marijuana legalization and politics and how you make your decisions on who to vote for, how important is it to you and should it be to us to consider their stand on marijuana legalization?
I think you should consider more than just that, but for me, it's a very important issue. To me, honestly, I believe that there's stark differences between Romney and Obama, even though obviously we could argue that Obama hasn't lived up to expectations. I'd also argue that a lot of, progress has been made during the last 4 years that probably wouldn't have been possible under, a McCain administration. So, you have to consider that and, consider other things. And I think even with all of that under consideration, Obama is a much better decision than Romney. So, I know I'm going to hear it from Ron Paul people and Gary Johnson people, but the stark choice we have in front of us is these two guys. And, Romney would just be a nightmare. And, Obama in a second term might be, a little bit more in our favor, at least not the step back that it would be with Romney. Can't imagine what Romney would do to medical marijuana centers and what directives he would give to his, DEA people and Department of Justice people. So
the other political story that got to be close to your heart there in New York, of course, is Mayor Bloomberg and Governor Cuomo talking about ending this New York City stop and frisk policy. They found after the police commissioner said knock it off that the arrests and the stop and frisks went up. So what's the latest on that?
Yeah, well, you heard what we had a legislator here who's actually the Republican Speaker of the House who said you'll be able to walk around with 10 joints behind each ear.
Yeah, I don't know how you pull that off, by the way.
Yeah,
unless you got Obama's ears. Maybe if you got Obama's ears.
I think I have my Halloween costume picked out, though.
Joints just sticking right out of the ears. You'll look like Andy Rooney with a bunch of ear hair coming out, man.
Yeah, so, and yeah, I mean, the story is very interesting. Obviously, if you're looking at a policy that, 90% of the people affected by it are Black and Latino, it's pretty, plain to see that that's a racist policy. And we've had that going, not just for Bloomberg, but, Giuliani was the king of it, and he installed it. And Bloomberg's been too much of a wimp to remove it, He doesn't want to be soft on crime. He said, Giuliani fixed it. I'm not going to break it. So, he's just not going to do much, and he actually flip-flopped on the issue. He was against this whole thing until he realized Ray Kelly was for it, and Ray Kelly's probably only for it because he's going to be running for mayor against Christine Quinn, and he just can't lose the whole Black and Latino vote outright. So, interesting times, and I feel like Christine Quinn locally is actually someone who would be, in our favor as well. She's open lesbian legislator, married her partner recently, and there's hints and murmurs and rumors that she's not a smoker, but someone who is not opposed to liberalizing the marijuana rules in New York City. So we have hope. This legislature ends in less than 3 weeks. So if you don't hear anything in the next 2.5 weeks, then it's going to wait another year until they get back in session. So hopefully we'll have a definitive answer in the next 2 weeks or so, and they'll lay off a little bit. We are the pot arrest capital of the world, and it's really a shame because this could be it's New Amsterdam. It could be a real hub of cannabis-related activity, and instead everybody's living in fear.
Yeah, folks, if you don't know it, there were over 50,000 arrests in New York City alone. New York City accounts for 1 out of 17 marijuana arrests in this country. 1 out of every 17. So yeah, if we could put a serious dent in that, it would bring down the overall national numbers in a large way for marijuana arrests. So we really hope the New York Assembly can do something with that. And speaking of the Assembly, you guys are also have been for a long time batting around a medical marijuana proposal there. Do you have any updates on that?
Yeah, I mean, there have been several defections from the Republican camp who've come over, and I think they need 4. And I think they have 2. One of them is a guy who had cancer, and another one, obviously, someone in his life must have had it, because I guess that's the only way to make some politicians realize what's going on with this issue. So, even these couple of Republicans that have defected on it aren't necessarily enough to pass it. And, Cuomo urging it to be passed is a good thing. I think he would sign it if it gets to him, but we'll see. I mean, these things seem to just happen overnight and just become law, and they either sign it or they don't, and that's that,
Yeah. Well, I want to remind folks that High Times presents Free Weed from Danny Danko is available here on... Oh, and by the way, Danny, we have a new name starting Monday. We are National Cannabis Radio.
Oh, cool. Perfect.
Yeah. So you'll be on...
That's a great...
Yeah, you'll be on NCR.
NCR. Perfect. Yeah, that's great. I'm excited about the whole thing, just to be on that with you and... Subcool and Jorge Cervantes and all Tim Martin, all these great people that come at this subject from different sides. You know what I mean? Everybody's kind of got. I do a more cultivation heavy sort of thing, and you got the news and the politics, and it's just it's a great place. And the chat room is great too. Shout out to everybody out there, in the chat room, just talking about what they're smoking on and what they. Just everything that they got out there. I love it.
Right.
I try to get in there as much as I can, I'm working and, living and raising a child and all that. But it's fun to get in there and just interact with the people who are there, supporting this cause. It's just cool. I really appreciate the fact that you're back out there doing this, and it's independent, and you can say what you want and do what you want. And I've been loving a lot of the blogs lately too. The whole thing with Ches. You know, and I really think that, you know, who knows, you know, but what lies in that guy's heart. But he's got to know that he acted a little, you know, I don't know.
Well, we will keep up on that. And you can follow the updates on my blog at RadicalRuss.com. Danny Danko's Free Weed.
He treated you back. And,
he was a good guy. Free Weed from Danny Danko is on every Wednesday night at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Available also at hightimes.com/freeweed. Danny, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again soon, man.
Hey, thank you so much, and follow HT Bong Hitters at Twitter.
All right. Take it easy, and good luck, Bong Hitters.
Thanks. Take care.
This is the Russ Belville Show.
Thanks to Danny
The Russ
Danko.
Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.
Join us in Hour 2. Toker Talk Radio is coming up next. We're going to take your calls at 971-533-7111. We'll cover some more of the news stories today and just have ourselves a good time at the end of the week. Stick around. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
Ganja computer. Ganja computer.
It's 5 o'clock in the Pacific Time Zone. The workday is done.